Welcome back to Nightcap Chat, the pop culture podcast. We talk all things from comics, video games, movies, and TV, and more. Today, we are talking pop culture within tabletop gaming. I'm Blade O'Neill.
I'm Lance O'Neill.
Oh, Lance. Thanks for joining me today.
You're welcome.
So we've got a fun topic. This is something I've been wanting to talk about for quite a while. I wasn't really sure how to go about it because, with this kind of medium, it's just a podcast, just audio. We can't demonstrate anything. So we thought we would just talk about the pop culture influences within tabletop gaming. Hopefully that's the correct way of going about it. Because a lot of these games are card based anyway. And going into this, we've got Christmas and Hanukkah coming up and all these gift giving holidays. So I think also a lot of these make for great Christmas gifts. So a little something to keep in mind going forward. But before we jump into it, thank you all for joining us once again, liking, sharing, and subscribing, and being a part of our weekly routine here. So Lance, you just celebrated a birthday, even though your birthday is technically tomorrow, right? Because it's Tuesday, not actually Monday as we're recording.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah. It's tomorrow as you guys are hearing this, but not really for me.
So happy birthday to you.
Thank you.
But one of the things I had gotten Lance, and he's my brother, if you haven't figured that out by now, was some of the new Pokemon cards.
Oh, yes. And I had no idea they were even out because literally a set came out like a month ago or 2 months ago.
It certainly feels like that.
It just seems like they kind of just popped them out really quick. I don't know if it was just, all right, that one was really popular. Let's get another one out right before Christmas to get all these to the sales.
To be fair, if you're referring to hidden... Gosh, there's so many crazy names.
Fates, and then there's hidden something else.
And plus there's some other kind of fates.
Yes. They need to do something.
Names are crazy.
Yeah.
There's definitely somewhat of an oversaturation of Pokemon cards within the market because I don't even know how many Sun and Moon expansions there are now, especially with this latest one, Cosmic Eclipse. But you pulled a full art card, which was pretty neat.
Yes, it was.
I thought it was really funny that you did not recognize Excadrill.
I didn't, and I don't know if it's because I didn't recognize him and I thought he was a new one because I was playing Shield and I saw someone that either looked like him or it was him, and I just assumed
there are Excadrills like in the wild area and stuff.
Yeah, so I think that's what it was. I just assumed, it must be from the new one because I saw him in the game, and the Gen 4-5 Pokemon kind of all get blurred together, and some of them I don't even remember because that generation I feel like wasn't as memorable as the others. But I'm not saying they were bad. I'm just saying
I know what you mean.
X and white and version and black version and see, I can't even remember
Pearl, Platinum.
Yeah, I can't even remember them. That's how not really memorable they were.
Honestly, Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum are the only ones I have not played. I've played every generation of Pokemon games.
I've played them. I don't even think I beat those. I did beat white. There is a Y. Wow. They don't do good with names, huh? Red version, obviously, blue version, obviously are the best. And so is silver and gold are right there too.
It's hard for those to not be the best, especially since you play through Kanto anyway.
Yeah, it's hard to say that silver is not better just because it's like, it's also includes the other versions. Mm-hmm. So how do you say that?
And so many major upgrades, like with breeding and stuff,
color.
Yeah, for sure. But before we digress too far from Pokemon cards, there's certainly an oversaturation. One of the best elements for anyone considering getting into trading card games is, I think the Pokemon trading card game is pretty easy to play.
Yeah, it's pretty simple. It's pretty straightforward. It's basically basic math of, hey, you're going to do 50 damage and this person has 70 HP. So you're left with 20 HP. Yeah. So all you have to do is subtract, and then you put the damage tokens down. And then if it's, and it's just like the game. If you're a fire type attacking a grass type, even if you don't know, it says it on the card what the weakness is. So if it does double damage or half the damage. So, it's pretty a straightforward game. And there's even if you want to do, if you want to play physically with somebody, but you're not 100% comfortable, you can, each pack comes with a a card pack online, you can just go online and they have tutorials that takes you through the game and how to play it. And so they make it really, really easy for you to just be able to pick it up and get going.
I'm glad you brought that up because that was exactly my whole point in bringing this up as a great starting trading card game, is that each Pokemon pack does come with a digital code for a virtual card pack. And those tutorials really solidified my understanding of the Pokemon card game. And not only that, it's what roped me back into collecting Pokemon cards again. Because I used to collect them when they first came out, when we had the base set, Jungle set, Team Rocket, Gym, and whatever all those were called. And then I got away because, I mean, there's just an oversaturation. I didn't realize there were digital packs. And it's like opening a whole another pack again virtually. So like the price is totally worth it.
Right. And just so, you know, if you're going out there, you do want to buy this for somebody or you want to get into it, when you buy a pack, you get whatever's in your pack, but that digital pack is a completely different pack. Just because, I pulled this great card, if you download the pack, it's just a completely random different pack. So don't think like, whatever I have physically, I'm going to have digitally. That's not the case. Yes. But it still does make for like a completely different experience. You're basically getting two packs. And even what I've done is if you're like, well, you know, playing in person is not for me and you want to go online and play, or it's just, you know, it's just more convenient that way and you don't have to bother, you know, counting up tokens and stuff like that. You can just go online, and some people, you know, they sell just the digital packs for really cheap. It's way cheaper than just buying a pack of cards. And if you're just into that, you could just buy like 50 packs for like $15 digital packs.
It's awesome.
It's awesome. Yeah. So you can just open 50 packs and you got this great set online and you can play against your friends, and
you can play with friends. You can play with strangers if you don't have any friends that are, you know, into playing it with you, and they're all different, you know,
tournaments online too.
And the only exception to the randomization of the packs is sometimes Pokemon sells packs that come with a special, you know, promo card or a special GX card, if you will. And you do get a code for that special promo card within that pack. When alternatively as well, if you're interested in starting to learn how to play, they do sell like the pre-put together decks, you know, in a tangible format. But those packs also come with digital ones too. So you can get that same set of predetermined cards there. Granted, they're not always that great unless you're buying one of the packs that's from like one of the championship tournament replica decks.
Right.
Those are good. But otherwise, like, 'cause I have like an Articuno deck and a Mewtwo deck, and like they're okay. And if you're both playing that, you know, same level of playing field, like that's fine.
Yeah, if you want to just go against your friend, hey, I want to use Moltres and you can use Zapdos, and we just kind of have a fun just battle. That's kind of where it comes into play. There's also an online market too. So if you're like, oh, I got this really good card, but it's not really for my deck, there's a virtual market where you can go and find somebody or ask somebody, hey, I have this card, I'm looking to trade it for this card, and you can post it and people can do trades online. So it opens up like a whole new world for playing Pokemon trading card game.
And you know, if you're not sure whether you're ready to spend money on something like this or not, I believe you can actually go on to Pokemon Trading Card Game online. So just look that up. And I believe there are free starter decks within the little quote story mode. And that can help you determine whether or not this game is for you without spending any money. And you always have those cards, but they're locked to your account. You can't just go trade those cards off. But I think it's kind of like starting a Pokemon game. Like you can choose, like, you have a water deck, a fire deck, and a grass deck. You know, they're very basic, but it teaches you how to play.
Yeah, and it's fun. It's definitely worth the time. I lost my train of thought there for a second.
Lance is functioning off of 3 hours of sleep.
Yeah, I'm really tired. One of the things that is really good about it too is, if you don't have a PC, but if you do have like a tablet or something like that, you can play it on like an iPad. So they are, you know, making it, more accessible too. It's not just, I need a computer and I don't have a computer. So
I mean, it's not out for Android phones, but I have it on my Android phone because Android operating system is a little more open, and I was able to just install the APK or whatever it was from the tablet Android version. I installed it on there, so I can play it on my phone. So like, I'm ready. Cool. You let me know.
Yeah,
like cool. I can play it on the go, in bed, whatever. But yeah, it's totally cool. So that was one of the the first things I wanted to highlight, because I think like a lot of the basics of this game can, like, once you understand this game, you can open up the door to getting into other games, you know, whether it's, you know, Star Wars Forces of Destiny. I dare even want to say like Yu-Gi-Oh! And Magic the Gathering, but like I honestly not too sure how to play those. But it's a great jumping off point for getting into that. Speaking of cards, I believe this is considered more of a tabletop game, if I'm not mistaken. But you were the first one, I think, to buy Marvel Legendary.
Yes.
Right. So I'll let you describe the basics there, since this is your game, but we all play it.
Yeah. So Marvel Legendary is like just a basic like deck building game. So all you have is, you know, you have your heroes. You can either pick your heroes, but they suggest that when you play it, you just pick at random the heroes that you have. But you buy the big box that comes with like the board that you have to play on, and
it's essentially a huge starter set.
Yeah, it's a huge starter set. Yeah, and it comes with a bunch of, you know, Avengers, some X-Men, etc. And then it comes with villains, schemes, and I'll get more into that and stuff. But it comes with everything you need. So basically, you start off with like shield agents, and you can use them to like attack, or you can use them to. They're kind of like, they have like resources. They're buying. You use them to buy stuff. And basically, you're just trying to buy heroes. So you're trying to buy Thor. You're trying to buy Iron Man, or whatever, you know, your favorite hero might be. Or just whatever, you know, is the best for your deck at that time. So you have the villain, and he has a scheme. So I don't know how many it comes with, but let's say it comes with like 20 something. I want to say it might even be more, but it comes with like 20 different schemes, which is just kind of like, it's the situation that you're put into, or the mission that you have to complete on top of defeating the mastermind. So there's different ways that you might be able to lose. So it's kind of fun, because just because you play the game once, the next time you play it going to be completely different. The rules change every time you play. And if there's like 30 something schemes and there's 8 different masterminds you can fight, that means that there's that many different combinations that you can play that game with just that one starting deck that you get.
And to simplify this even further, essentially what this game comes down to is whether you're playing, first of all, by yourself, which is pretty cool that you can even play by yourself, or with 2 or more people, you're working together to defeat the bad guy. So whenever we have a new player coming in, I always describe it as like, we are kind of like the commanding agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., because we only have like S.H.I.E.L.D., you know, within our deck, and like you recruit the heroes on. So like, it's like you're telling the different superheroes what to do, and you're strategizing together to take down random enemies. Like whether you're fighting Magneto or Apocalypse, Loki, Doctor Doom,
and
Red
it's
Skull.
not even just those heroes, you know, each of those masterminds, you know, we're saying masterminds because those are like the big villains that you have to defeat them 4 times in order to win. Those villains have henchmen, and they have other villains that you have to defeat also on the way. So every time there's a turn, you pick up from the villain deck, and you turn over that card, and it might be the mastermind does something, or it might just be, there's a bunch of Hydra agents. Now we have to kill the Hydra agents. But all the cards, it kind of sounds complicated, but every card literally has what you're supposed to do written on the card. So all you do is you turn over the card, you just read what it says, and that's it.
It's one of those things where like, if you play through it once and you understand it, like you got it, because the only thing you really have to learn, besides like the basics of when to draw what card and you know, just the general concept of the deck building game, you know, if you will, but just the value of what is attack and what is buying, because you're essentially purchasing the hero cards, and that's how you are making Cyclops and Wolverine and Iron Man do stuff. Essentially, right. I mean,
so you also have to decide, you know, do I want to buy a hero that's going to give me more buying power later? Because, you know, this shield agent only lets me buy 1, but this hero card over here lets me buy 3 for 1 card. So you kind of choose, hey, do I need more buying power to buy better cards, or do I need more attack, so I buy someone with a lot of attack? So, you know, it's kind of just like any other deck building game. If you're not familiar with it, it's just you want to formulate the strategy with different cards to try to get the best synergy out of all the cards to make the best deck. So that way, when you go through your deck the next time, you can make a good combo. Like, oh, this guy makes me draw a card, and this guy, if I have a Cyclops card and it says if I have another X-Men, he does 2 more damage, and I have a Jean Grey. So it's just about the synergy that you get, and it's just a really fun game. Not only is it about, kind of coming together and us trying to just beat the bad guy, but there's also like a side MVP is what they kind of call it, if you will, that every time you defeat like a henchman or mastermind, you get a certain amount of points, and whoever has the most points at the end of the game is kind of the MVP. So that it does kind of make a little kind of competition if it's going really well and you guys are just destroying everybody to kind of, you can kind of maybe be a little selfish, be like, what, instead of killing the mastermind, I'm going to kill 5 henchmen. I'm going to get more points and then make the game drag on longer.
But I mean, if you don't defeat the mastermind, you all lose, and so that's the fun. It's like you kind of all win and you kind of all lose together, and you're really working together to defeat a bad guy. And it's so much more than that. Like Lance was saying, with there's this thing called schemes, which are essentially like the scenario of the game. So one of them, off the top of my head, what was it? It was like they brought out Jean Grey clones or something, and if 5 of them escaped, you lost essentially. Right. So there's like little missions. Yeah, there's other things,
and a lot of them are I think all of them are all stuff that are based off the comics too. So like, Civil War, like, and there'll be a scheme that, you're fighting you're actually fighting Iron Man, or you're on Captain America's side, or flip flop, whatever the case is. Or there's Secret Invasion, there's Rescue Baby Hope. There's like weird things.
This is the expansions too, right?
Oh yeah, there's tons of expansions. There's an insane amount of expansions. I think there's like 15 or 20.
And that really keeps the combinations going because they're all backwards compatible, and they add even more game elements as you go in, because as you learn, because there's this whole thing with it was like Infinity Stone shards, and if you get them all, like, you're corrupted by evil, and then everyone else loses.
There is it's actually Infinity Stones. They're one of the game modes you can play, and it has to do with you actually put them in the deck. There's 6 Infinity Stones, and when you get them, you can choose to use them or you can hold on to them. And they're really powerful and they're really awesome. You want to use them. But the only thing is, if you get more than, I don't even think it's all of them. I think if you get more than 4, you're corrupted by evil, and everyone loses except for the person who has the stones. So when those cards are out in play, you kind of go, you don't know who to trust. And then once you see someone racking up the Infinity Stones, you're like, hey, what are you doing?
I think the biggest point of this is the expansions really help keep it fresh. Because, I mean, the starter set, is like 50,
it's like 50 bucks, 50, 60 bucks.
Which is, I mean, it might sound expensive too, but it's actually not for the hours and hours and hours of gameplay you get, especially compared to like a video game. Like, there's video games that I've gotten less gameplay time out of than we did with just this, the base set. And then there's various expansions between $20 and $50. So, I mean, eventually it adds up, but if you're playing it, it's literally hours of fun.
Yeah, and
each game lasts what, like an hour or 2?
About an hour. It depends on how hard it is, or sometimes they'll last a little longer. Especially some of them are rough when you have to fight Apocalypse, or when you have to fight Dark Phoenix, or you have to fight Galactus or Thanos. There's a lot of big bad guys that they have, and they're all in different expansions. And the expansions aren't small either. The expansions they're big.
Some of them are big. Some of them, they have really small ones, like the $20 Deadpool set, and I think there's a really small Guardians one too.
There's a small Guardians one. There's a small Deadpool one. There's a small Spider-Man one. There was a small like Hulk one. But there are big ones. There's a big X-Men one.
X-Men one's really big. It looked really like it was like almost the size of
it's the same size. It's 300 cards.
Wow.
And which is basically the size of the beginning. There's like the medium sized ones that are like Civil War, Secret Wars, Dark City, Dark Reign. They just came out with a new one called Revelations, which I just realized before we came on here, came out, and I have to get it. And it's really cool because it has Mandarin on the cover. I'm a huge Iron Man fan. and there's War Machines in it, Scarlet Witch, Quicksilver, and they also sometimes redo characters too. So it's not like, you're going to see the starter set and you're going to be like, oh, this is the Iron Man, whatever. There's other Iron Mans along the way, or there's
especially in Civil War and what's the one with the white armor? Secret War.
Yeah.
What's pretty cool too?
There's tons of Spider-Mans too.
Do you have the other base set that's the villains, where you play as the villains fighting the bad guys?
I really want to. It's literally one of the best. It's one of the best looking sets. Like if you go through and see who's in it, and it's awesome. But unfortunately, it apparently was like a limited thing. They didn't think. I don't think they thought it was like going to do very well.
Are you serious?
So they didn't make many. And if you go online, it's like $120 online.
Oh my gosh,
it's insane. I want it so bad though, because there's so many good villains and it's. Well, I'm saying they're villains, but they're villains. You play as the villain. You're fighting good guys. Mm-hmm. So it kind of changes it up, and you can also, the game's flexible, so you could take those villains and just add them to, like, you just say, hey, no, I'm playing, they're going to be a good guy for this game. Absolutely. So I would love to play, with Magneto or with Doctor Doom. That would just, it changes it so much. It'd be a fun thing to do.
Absolutely. It was a great move. And, I believe the game encourages you to do everything random. But like as you go and you've already played several games, like sometimes you do want to, pick the scenario, and usually it's fine. Like even when we pick things, like we don't always even win. Like, oh, I really want to fight Apocalypse today. Like let's
some of them together. A lot of it is just about kind of who you pick too. Cause if you could pick the best, this seems like a really easy scheme. This seems like a really easy villain. But if you pick your heroes at random and none of them have like synergy, especially, for me, I have like probably 6-7 expansions and the starter pack. And sometimes we've played and we have like 5-6 heroes, and it's like none of these people work well together. There's not enough attack.
And I can't even use this one because there's no X-Men in the deck or whatever. So sometimes it's good to maybe stick with like a theme. I know some people play that they like to stick with a theme. Like, oh, if I'm fighting, Apocalypse, I'm going to try to keep my X-Men. Or if I'm fighting, Doctor Doom, maybe I'm going to do some Iron Man or whatever. And, and sometimes I know, like, if you go through the expansion, some of them are like they're just loaded with so many good ones. Then some of them it's like, man, I kind of just want it for literally just that one thing. So you do have to pick and choose. Like for me, the one set that I probably really want that's really cheap that I don't have would be the Fantastic Four set, just because I don't want anyone really that's in the Fantastic Four, but I want Galactus. Like I want to be able to fight Galactus. Well, isn't there also Silver Surfer and Doctor Doom as well? And like Owatu, I want to say.
Not sure.
But it's funny.
I think Silver Surfer is in it though.
It's not like the best part about like any Fantastic Four thing is always Doctor Doom, Silver Surfer, and Galactus. Yeah. Like that's what makes it cool.
Yeah, it is.
That's kind of sad, but that was the best part about Marvel getting the rights back to Fantastic Four. It wasn't even about the Fantastic Four themselves. It was about Doctor Doom, Galactus, Silver Surfer, Owatu, and whatever other goodness comes along with that. We're all a bunch of Marvel fanboys, all the Nightcap chat hosts. But one of the best parts about Legendary itself, because like there's not just a Marvel Legendary, there's all kinds. Because I was about to say there's a DC one, but I actually don't think it's quite. I don't think it's called DC Legendary, right? It's some other game. It's just similar.
It's a similar game, but it's like a similar concept. But it's not as from what I've heard, it's not as in depth and as good. Yeah, but it's a little easier.
But we're a pop culture podcast. Like there's other licenses.
Wait, there's
Legendary.
There's
like if
James Bond.
Is there?
Yeah,
I didn't even know that. So there's James Bond. There's a Predator one. If you're into like Alien and Predator and such.
There's a Buffy the Vampire Slayer one.
Okay.
There's just a lot of Marvel ones. Just going through a list. You said Alien.
Oh no, there's an Alien one.
There's an Alien and a Predator one.
Okay.
So I'm sure you could probably even mix it up. And
so I mean, even if you don't want Marvel, like there's kind of a little something for everyone. And this game is a lot of fun. One of the things I think that kind of turned us on, I don't know about you, but was playing Munchkin.
Yeah. Munchkin was definitely a good, That's definitely a good gateway game for this.
Munchkin, there's a regular Munchkin, and it's just a game. I wouldn't necessarily call it similar to this. We won't linger on this too long, but there are other editions of Munchkin, such as Marvel Munchkin, which was essentially Munchkin with not only items but with superpowers, which was really cool. In a quick nutshell, essentially is like you're your character in Munchkin, and you break down the door, quote, which is just draw a card and you either like fight a monster or take a treasure, and then whoever gets level 10 first wins, which I think is by defeating 10 monsters. But you can also kind of mess with each other because you can recruit help for fighting the different monsters and stuff. So this idea carries over to Marvel Munchkin, which once again, you're kind of a shield agent. That's your character, and you can recruit different heroes. That's some of the cards that you draw, but you also get different items. So you have, 2 hands, 2 feet, a head. So like you have 1 helmet, 2 single-handed items, double-handed items. And it's the same thing as Munchkin, but you have the superpowers, because you can also add things like, what is it, like the power cosmic, something you can equip. I know you can equip like infinity stones and stuff.
Yeah, and,
so
and they can make you
little
like
powers and stuff.
There's other things that make you, you can hold an extra hand item now. So now you have like 3 hands or an extra foot item or whatever the case is.
So maybe if you really think Legendary is a little too complicated for you, Munchkin is a much more basic kind of, I think it's considered a tabletop game, but it's a card game. It's a standalone, card game.
The biggest difference though too between those is just that Munchkin is definitely a little simpler, especially to learn probably off the bat, but it's more of a we're all against each other type thing.
It's much more of that.
Way more. So like this, it could end friendships maybe. I don't know.
No.
But
it's like Monopoly.
Yeah. So just be aware of that. Like it's very similar, but except it's whoever wins first. It's not, hey, we have to defeat a bad guy. Mm-hmm. And although sometimes, you're going to be fighting a bad guy and you'll ask for help and your teammates can help you, but that does come with a cost. It's like, hey, yeah, I'll help you, but you have to give me, half of the treasure for killing that guy. And then, you have to, or all of the treasure. Because if you don't, you're going to lose. And I don't know, you can't afford to lose that power level. And, it could get ugly depending on who you're playing with,
Which is also, it's fun in its own right. So like, I think there's definitely room for both Munchkin and Legendary in your life. I just felt Legendary had such a unique way of going about it that you're getting your friends together and you're taking on Thanos together or Apocalypse or whatever, like it's a lot of fun, especially just, have a couple of drinks on the weekend and, hang out, kind of a thing. But yeah, I definitely wanted to bring Munchkin into the fold, and there's all kinds of different Munchkins too, just as there's Legendary. And the Marvel ones have expansions. If you know a theater nerd, like there's Munchkin Shakespeare, and you can fight like Lady Macbeth and stuff. It's pretty funny. There's all kinds of great little ones.
I think there's like a Rick and Morty one too.
Yes, there's a Rick and Morty. That one was actually worth a lot of money until like they got out for a little while. Now I think it's leveled back out. There's also I think there's a Nightmare Before Christmas one. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure. I know the Rick and Morty one was extremely popular though when that came out. So for tabletop games, this next one also has quite a few IPs, and I believe there's even a WWE version coming out soon, and that is HeroClix.
Oh yeah. There's there's millions and millions of HeroClix. Did you know that?
Is there millions? That's crazy.
So it's not just Marvel,
So in a nutshell, HeroClix is essentially chess with, different Marvel characters, but with superpowers.
Way more complicated than chess.
That's my 2-sentence description of it. Now, maybe when you're learning to play, maybe don't use the cards, because when this game first came out, there was just the figures with their little bases, and the bases had different numbers and colors, and that's how you figured out their speed, attack, defense, how much damage they do, and what powers came along with those colors.
I would say start with the basic sets before you even
Definitely start with a base, because they have base sets now, but they still come with the cards.
Yeah,
And
I would say try starting with like an original before jumping into all this.
I mean, if you can.
If you can.
I mean, maybe just try a dry run, though, even though they have cards, just ignore it, just to kind of get a feel for how many things are going on. Because Lance and I used to play back when HeroClix first came out. I don't even remember what the name of the original set was called.
It's called Infinity Crisis.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Right.
And then there was Clobber in Time.
Clobber in Time,
yeah. So like each figure did not come with little cards, but these little cards that they added just add so many more things going on. And we recently figured out that there's this whole other thing with bringing in other things and little debit card. Like it's crazy. But my point is
they're calling cards, not debit cards.
Well, they look like debit cards, right?
They do.
I think what my point is, though, is having played it, just trying to refigure this out with the cards. Like it took, I don't even know how many hours that first game took us, because we were just sitting there staring at the rules, and then we kept Googling stuff, and there's just so many things going on. But it's really cool right now. Like there are a lot of HeroClix. There's only so many expansions that are, quote, part of the current meta, but there's so many characters now.
Yeah, and I think I don't want this to be off-putting, because we're saying it's all of a sudden so complicated, but the way they do it now makes the characters a little more genuine to their powers.
Yes.
So it's not like, oh, this guy loses this ability at this point, this guy gains this ability, and it's like, well, this guy should always have this ability. Like, that's the whole point of this guy. Mm-hmm. They kind of changed it to where each character now, it's not just like a generic, they have this ability, and so does this guy.
They have claws, and they can jump.
Yeah, they have claws, and they can jump. So they have blades, claws, and fangs, and leap and climb. No, each character has their own specific ability that they have all the time, or they do have it at certain points, but it makes sense now. So I think what they've done is made the characters make a lot more sense than it did before.
It feels a lot more like each character, like, Wolverine feels so much more like Wolverine, and, the Living Tribunal is just ridiculous.
Right, which he should be.
Yeah.
Which I'm still upset about, but that's okay.
He almost could be more ridiculous.
He should be more ridiculous.
It's just that they had to make him somewhat viable and defeatable.
Right.
In my opinion, anyway. And for those of you who don't know what Lance is referring to, in his reference to his jealousy, is he bought a brick and gave me one pack, and I pulled the Living Tribunal out.
Yeah. Isn't that great? Ugh. And I got a Thor, cool figure. A broken Thor.
Broken Thor. He was defeated. Oh, that was a pun.
But yeah, I mean, HeroClix is great. It's like you said, it's a lot like chess, but it's just a lot more things going on than chess. Mm-hmm. There should be less pieces when you're playing than chess, but you're moving more than you do each turn for chess. So, you might move 3 people in one turn. So trying to decide what your opponent's going to do versus what you're trying to do is a little more complicated, because there's more variables now. It's not just, he's probably just going to move Onslaught next turn. He could move Sabretooth, he could move Cyclops, he could move Jean Grey all in one turn.
But
and I don't know what's going on.
Half of them also have free actions. So there's actually going to be, potentially 6 moves.
Right. It's just, there's a lot of variables, but it makes it fun. If you're into, games that, make you think and have a lot of strategy to them, but you still have a good time. And there's dice rolling involved, which to me, I don't know, when there's like chance involved, it's always kind of fun when, if I roll double 6s, it's going to be a critical hit, or double 1s is a critical fail.
Yeah. I mean, chance mixed with strategy.
Chance mixed with strategy is great.
Makes it fun. If it's all chance, I think it really sucks the fun out of it. I think the mixture of both, because I mean, it just shakes things up a bit. And not to get too off of topic, I think that's what attracts me so much to games like Mario Party, because there is some strategy, but there's also a lot of luck, involved. I mean, it's because of the dice rolls and the little ways you can kind of mess with each other with the different things going on the game board. But I mean, Mario Party is essentially a board game.
Right.
I mean, in all essence.
Right.
I mean, it's pretty much exactly what it is. So yeah, you're right. Like that, it is fun when there's little chance things, especially with dice.
Yeah. And it gives you, a little more risk factor, I'm going to send I'm going to send this guy in to go attack this guy. And all I need to do is roll a 4 and I get a hit and he's dead. But like your character's at 1 health and you go for it and you're just like, I hope I get it. And if you don't get it, you know that your guy's probably dead the next turn. So, there's always, it's kind of makes it gives it a little more excitement instead of just, oh, I know this is going to happen. Like Wolverine's going to hit that shield agent and he's obviously going to get ripped in half. Not necessarily. You got to hit that roll.
Yep. All in all, HeroClix is really fun. I would say it's very complicated. And in my personal opinion, I think you'd have a lot harder of a time getting into it, 1, by yourself, and 2, if you didn't have a good resource to really teach you, whether it's a local comic shop or whatever.
Yeah, and there's a lot of comic shops that like do teachings. I even walked into a comic shop to go buy a couple of packs because I was like, I just want a couple of packs before we play, some HeroClix and, open a box before we play. And I walked in and they were having a HeroClix tournament and it wasn't really a tournament. It was just there's like
a play day.
It was a play day. It was like, some kids and some parents and they were all just learning how to play. That's all it was. They were just teaching each other how to play and explaining to them how to do it. And it was kind of cool, and it's, a fun experience. And the models, some of the models are really, really cool. If you're just into just collecting character models, this just might be a thing for you.
Did you know, I haven't even had a chance to tell you. And if you didn't know, like you might freak out. Did you see what just came out for HeroClix? The little singles?
No.
They did an X-Men, paint your own X-Men.
Oh, did they?
Yeah. And there's a lot of cool characters. There's Magic. There's Wolverine. I think there's like 10 of them, but they're little singles and you can paint them yourself.
Oh, cool.
Isn't that awesome?
Yeah, it's awesome.
I'm so excited. I'm going to get the Magic one. Like she was definitely one of the coolest ones that stuck out in my mind. But I mean, like now you can also just paint them however you want. Granted, we used to do that anyway.
Yeah, we used
to customize our own.
Not only did we paint them, but we would pull parts apart and then glue them onto the ones because we were like, I was like, oh, I like how Avalanche's like helmet looked, but like I want like this guy's like bat in his hand or something, and you just like kind of just broke a piece off and super glued it and painted it over it, and it looked fine.
It looked okay.
It looked okay. It didn't look great.
We were pretty young.
Yeah.
I remember the reason why we did this was because when the first set came out, it was very loosely based off of the Infinity Gauntlet. There were only so many characters. There was Spider-Man and Hobgoblin. So there was no Green Goblin at this point. So I think one of us, I think I did. I think I repainted one of my Hobgoblins because I had an extra into being a Green Goblin. That was easy. There was characters like Constrictor, which is kind of a B character. But I took him and I painted him into Carnage because not only did he have those tentacles, but I snapped a bunch of other tentacles off of different characters and glued them in various points. That one did not look that good. It was pretty clunky, but it was cool to have a Carnage.
Yeah, and it was like the struggle of them not putting out another set for a long time because it took a while for them to put out that second set because they were seeing how well it was going to do, I'm sure, and then
HeroClix went out of business there for a while. And now I think they're
like thriving now, I want to say.
Well, yeah, they got re-put out by whoever it was, and now it's kind of back, and there's quite a few sets, and they're not too spread out. Like that X-Men set just barely came out, and we're already gearing up for a new set, which is what's it called, Captain America and the Avengers, or something like that.
Yeah,
stupid name, and I'm saying that only because like I don't understand completely how it really became the title of the sets, because yes, Captain America's in it, but there's so many cool characters.
I know, and
there's Ultron.
There's so many sets that have like the Avengers name in it that I think that was just not necessary. There's just whatever, but it's fine. They have really cool characters in the set. I mean, that's really all that matters. Who cares what it's called,
It doesn't matter. But this is a game where there are lots of expansions. There's lots of characters. So, like, I mean, Lance and I split a brick of the recent Guardians of the Galaxy set just because, like, we may not be into Guardians, but there were so many cool characters, including Thanos and Angela, that, like, it was just really hard to not.
And there was the Inhumans.
And the Inhumans and Marvel, Captain Marvel, and actual Carol Danvers, non-Brie Larson.
And Marvel
Captain
Zombies,
Marvel.
if you're into that.
Yeah, and there's a subset within there, which was some of the Marvel Zombies. Was it just the villains or the heroes? Because I think one of them had a villains. And there's another subset that had the heroes.
I think it was just, no, you're right. It said on the back of the box, zombie villains.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, what a great way to go about that, because I wouldn't even be interested in a Marvel Zombie set. But if it was a subset, that's fine. Whatever. That can be in there. So, I mean, that's really fun. And, Angela just got into the Marvel universe not too long ago. She was originally a Spawn character. So it was really cool to see her getting to participate with her Marvel peeps.
Yeah, she's really cool. And then on top of it, even just in that set, I believe there's like variants of her.
Of who?
Angela.
Is there?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm upset now.
There's a really cool one.
I did not know
I'm gonna
go buy it right now.
No. You can't buy it. It's mine. Only I can have it.
Nope.
It's so cool.
So that means you're not going to get the Living Tribunal then? He's only like a $20 figure,
He's not. I thought he'd be more.
I think he used to be more.
Probably the market, started getting a little saturated.
I think right now it's just, between that and like right now, like the Dark Phoenix
is the one
chase is the, 45. Because even she's starting to level out. I think they just hit their little.
Yeah, they probably all go through the same price because they're all probably the same rarity and they all just fluctuate the same way. But what's really cool is you can go online and buy the ones you want to. If you don't want to buy just blind boxes, you don't have to. But I will say what I'm really impressed about that I feel like, we're talking about, was it 15 years ago when HeroClix started or 20 years ago? When it first started, it felt like it was like you'd open a box and be like, oh, I just got nothing but randoms. We bought a brick and we got, I think, one duplicate. I think when we bought the brick for the X-Men and for the Guardians.
Yeah, there was not a lot of duplicates.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy how, I don't know, maybe if it's just our luck, but it seems like there's enough in the set that if you buy a bunch of packs, you don't have to be like, oh, I keep getting the same terrible guy over and over again.
I would say that probably relates to buying bricks and cases, because I think there's just a good spread between a case, that you get most of the set. But I would also say, like, once you buy a few bricks or a case or whatever, if you have most of it, just buy the individuals.
Yeah, buy the individuals at that point. There's no point in buying blind and hoping you're getting something. Unless you just like the fun and thrill of maybe I'll pull a Living Tribunal, maybe I'll pull a Dark Phoenix, whatever you might be into.
Yeah, it's definitely fun, but once you start hitting too many duplicates, you might as well, because like the most common ones, they go for like a couple bucks, just because somebody needs it to complete a set or whatever it is. And, the more valuable ones are a little less likely. You're not getting your money back, so you might as well just be putting your money into those last few that you want or need, Yeah, and some of
the HeroClix do go for a lot. I think like, it's like King Green Goblin or something like that. He goes for like 50, 60 bucks or something like that. But he's also like a meta character. Like he's using like championship tournaments and stuff because of his abilities and stuff. But it's Green Goblin. It was a what if Green Goblin, I believe.
Okay.
And he has the Infinity Gauntlet or something.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And he's like insanely powerful.
Unbelievable.
But a lot of the characters that are like have an Infinity Gauntlet are rightfully so, but
yes.
There's a couple of cool ones. Like there's like Lockjaw. He doesn't have an Infinity Gauntlet. His Infinity like collar, but
really,
yeah, it's like cool. A collar. But he's like so good. It's insane.
See, that's really fun. And they have like little different scenarios. I think you can play through as well. Like especially like during the Avengers versus X-Men set, there's a Phoenix Force. And I have this Phoenix Force figure, but I only have 2 of the pieces that go with it. Because if you read those comics, the Phoenix Force got split into 5 different characters. So there's this scenario you can play through. We have to defeat the Phoenix Force.
But do you have to have the Cyclops and Colossus and Magic
so
and Namor?
Yeah, I only have 2 of them, and I'm missing the other 3. I'm watching 2 of them, and I'm waiting for the third one to finally pop up on eBay because I think it'd just be fun to play through it. And the Phoenix Force stuff is cool.
And some of even like with the new set with the X-Men, you know, we got like, we have to get, well, I have like 3 Sentinels and you have a Sentinel, and they're all different. All the Sentinels
I have a few Sentinels.
But I think you have one that I don't have. And I have 3.
Because there's like a regular Sentinel. There's a Cyclops Sentinel, which by the way, I just saw that episode pop up. It's from like a weird dream sequence thing, of course, you know. So the Cyclops Sentinel, there's Cerebra, which I think was also from a very specific scenario. Then there's, what was that other Sentinel called? I don't even remember. It was kind of weird, but there's a few different Sentinels.
Yeah, so if you want to, you can just play as like Sentinels versus X-Men, and you just have a bunch of different Sentinels. Or there's like I pulled Onslaught, who's such one of the coolest like figures. It's so well done and painted. It looks great.
And by the way, these are large. So most of the HeroClix, you know, they're like what, like 1.5 inches, but these figures are several inches and their bases are much larger. We won't get into the specifics of that. But now, like, there are larger characters.
Yeah.
And there's even a Galactus as an older figure. It's huge. It's gigantic. It's probably like a foot or so tall. It's a ridiculous size figure. I'm not sure if it's really usable with the current ones. Hopefully they'll make another one, especially with the rights, you know, returning to Marvel. I'm sure they'll want to, you know, push, you know, things like that. But yeah.
Remember when the first Sentinel came out? From like the original set, it was like the coolest thing ever.
Yeah.
And now it's like now it's just a thing in like every pack you buy. It's like, hey, you're gonna get 4 regular figures and a big
pack. Some of the sets,
not all of them. Yeah, some of the sets. But like with the Infinity War set and the new X-Men set, X-Men animated series, which is, it's kind of cool. I mean, I guess, you know, it makes sense. There's like, you know, there's Giant Man and there's guys like Onslaught, and there's some, you know, and some of them, it's not just characters that are huge. Some of them are just, it's little characters, but it has like this crazy, like they're in this like destroyed building and they're just coming out of it. And, or like I got that Namor yesterday that was like so well done with, what is it?
Gigantamo.
Is that what it was?
I thought so.
Gigantamo and Namor. And it's just Namor with holding, what's the name of the horn that
I didn't know the horn had a name.
I'm pretty sure it has a name.
I'm sure.
Whatever. The horn he has, it's him. He's like blowing the horn, and then there's this huge monster coming out of the water with him. It's just like this epic figure. I didn't even know it existed. And it's just,
I didn't know.
The model is just so cool.
Well, there's an older set, but there's an Iron Man War Machine combo. That's kind of cool. And there's I have the Shadow King, which is a giant, you know, monster looking figure from the X-Men the Animated Series set. But there's a variant where there's a little Storm next to him, and that's from the Shadow King episode where Shadow King takes over Storm's mind, and that's the rare chase. So they're really being creative with the figures too. So I mean, if more than just the game, it's fun to collect, you know. And I already admitted to being Marvel fanboys, but of course there's tons of DC sets as well.
Yes,
you know, if you're a DC fan, they have big ones, small ones. You know, of course, Batman's really good. You know,
yeah, Batman's always overpowered.
That's what DC likes to do. You know, which is fine.
Even when the first DC set came out, it came out, I believe, after the Marvel set, and they added new features to the DC set that wasn't in the Marvel set.
Yep.
And the DC set was just basically if you were battling somebody and they had DC characters, they won because they had abilities that they decided, hey, you know what, we should add these different unique things.
Because they made, you know, Superman and Doomsday and stuff more impervious, and like that
hypersonic speed now is a thing. And
plus they had Green Lantern can just carry 8 characters, and Marvel had nothing like that. But now there are more things like that.
Yeah, everything's now. And
there's vehicles too, which we wouldn't even bother getting into there. So as you can tell, I mean, this is kind of, you know, I don't want to say tip of the iceberg, but kind of tip of the iceberg for a lot of the different ways that, you know, Marvel, DC, and, you know, even video games have influenced the gaming world, not just video games. We're talking, you know, tangible, you know, card and tabletop games, and they're a lot of fun, you know, and it makes it a lot easier to digest when they're based on, you know, independent properties that you're familiar with and know and love. And, it makes it a lot of fun. So if you're ever interested in getting any of those, we all highly recommend them. If you did enjoy this episode, feel free to like and comment some of the other games that you think, might be worth talking about, and we can check them out and do a little follow-up to this as well. Maybe we'll even do a Twitch stream of Marvel Legendary or something one of these upcoming days. We still have our Twitch account active, but we haven't quite used it, not quite to the point of wanting to stream on there the podcast episodes, but maybe for like special events, maybe there's something there. But we appreciate you all taking the time to like, share, subscribe, and, making us a part of your weekly routine. We ask that you continue to do that, and give us some ratings wherever you're listening to this podcast, because that really helps us to get featured, especially on platforms like iTunes. Thank you all for listening. We have only 2 episodes left in the year. Next week, we're going to be bringing you a special Star Wars episode as we get ready for Rise of the Skywalker.
So excited.
So we'll see who we're going to have or how many more hosts we'll have on there. We're still working out those details.
The event for the Rise of the Skywalker thing that they teamed up with Fortnite. Did you see that?
Oh, the Stormtrooper?
No, there's a whole new thing that they just announced like yesterday.
No, I didn't. What is it?
So I think it's December 14th. If you're playing Fortnite, you're into Fortnite, you're not into it, and you just want to do this anyway. But there's that area of the map. They brought it back. There's Risky Reels where there's that movie theater.
Mm-hmm.
So if you go there, I think it's like 2:00 Eastern time on Saturday, December 14th. If you go in there and you get into a match and you're there, they are showing an exclusive.
Oh my gosh.
Clip from Star Wars, the movie. They didn't say how long. I don't know if it's a couple minutes long, but you go there and you can sit there, sit there with your character and watch this
That's
exclusive
ridiculous.
clip for Star Wars. So that was, to me, it's just kind of cool that, like, I'm not I like Fortnite. I'm not like, oh my God, Fortnite's the greatest thing. I've actually stopped playing it, but it's just kind of cool to see how, like, they're constantly, teaming up with all these different brands and things, and how it's just kind of shaping advertising or whatever the case is.
It's really interesting. It's definitely unprecedented as far as I'm aware. And maybe in a different movie I'd be interested, but like I am trying to now stay away from all these clips because they're also
100%.
They're pushing this on The Mandalorian too. They're going to be showing an exclusive sneak peek of Rise of Skywalker. I'm going to fast forward it or turn it off if it's at the end. Like I don't want to see it.
Right.
Like you don't need to convince me. I'm going to go see Rise of the Skywalker. But yes, next week's episode, we'll be doing a Star Wars special, just kind of going through all of the Star Wars Skywalker saga movies and talk about our hopes and dreams for episode 9 one more time. And then it will be our Christmas special. But we appreciate you all listening. We ask that you continue to like, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you all next week.
Have a good night.